Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this edition of our ECU Dean's Town Halls. I'm Scott Francis, the president of the ECU Alumni Association. I'm happy to join the ECU College of Education to bring you this opportunity with Dean Rouse. We're so glad you've joined us, and I hope that you're all staying safe, healthy, sane, and well. As we get started, I wanted to share some quick ground rules and format information with you. I first want to let you know that we are recording this session so that our friends who couldn't be here can access it later. So please note that it will record both our screens and the chats. We've muted all your lines as we meet our featured guest, Dean Rouse. He'll share some information first, and following that, we'll open up the chat to questions from you all. For the optimal viewing experience, you should select Speaker View, which can be found on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Also, we'll ask that you keep those lines muted for the duration of the program. At any time, you can ask a question in the chat by clicking on the word bubble labeled chat in the user menu at the bottom of your screen. I'm thankful in advance for your patience and understanding as we navigate the ins and outs of the technology. And now, without further ado, we'll get started and begin by saying hello and throwing it to Dr. Rouse to begin our session. Once again, thank you for joining us, and go Pirates. Dr. Rouse, the floor is yours, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Scott. And I want to say that I appreciate you taking the time to attend the town hall meeting, and hopefully at the end of our time today, you will feel like that the meeting has been very informative, and I want you to feel like that you have the opportunity to contact me with additional questions that you may have or concerns following today's meeting. So I want to begin by saying how fortunate I am to have the opportunity to serve as the acting dean for the College of Education. I come every day and serve our students and serve our region and serve our faculty. And it's really quite an honor to serve in this role and to watch the amazing work of our students and our faculty. I also want to say how much I appreciate your continued support for the College of Education, your support for our students and for our faculty and for our mission is extremely important. So thank you so much for your continued support for the College of Education. So I want to focus some highlights for the next few minutes. The work of the College of Education. And I'm going to focus them on the mission, right? And so our mission at ECU is student success, public service, and regional transformation. So I'm going to highlight some things in the College of Education that really exhibit what the College of Education is mission driven, and the centrality that this college has to ECU and to our region. So student success. So our seniors in 2019 had a 93% first-time pass rate on the EdTPA. And as you know, the EdTPA is a North Carolina requirement for a teaching license. Our ECU community school students in 2019 met expected growth as designated by the North Carolina Testing and Accountability Program. In fact, our students were 0.3 of a point from reaching a high growth in student achievement. We have had an increase in our international opportunities where students can study abroad and learn from other cultures with success. We also have had 16 North Carolina Regional Teachers of the Year over the previous 16 years. We have had 5 of the last 10 North Carolina Principals of the Year have been College of Education graduates. And 2 of the last 5 North Carolina Superintendents of the Year have been College of Education graduates. Public service. So our College of Ed Rural Education Institute has served 1,503 people this year, provided over 120 hours of professional development in the areas of trauma-informed practices, a social emotional curriculum, and effective instruction. College of Education faculty, staff, and students have provided over 25,000 hours of professional development to folks in the state. Staff from the Office of Assessment, Data Management, and Digital Learning provided over 1,000 hours of digital learning professional development for our K-12 teachers. Faculty also provided approximately 400 hours of support for families, schools, and children during the transition to remote learning in March. Our Center for STEM Education moved to fully online AP institutes this summer. We were the only university in the state to offer AP professional development to our K-12 teachers. Our adult education and IT programs continue to dedicate specific courses to our military. Our math and science faculty collaborated, and developed and implemented virtual simulation using our immersion lab to provide opportunities for pre-service and in-service teachers. Our special education faculty developed a program for alternative license in special education and collaborated with the Greenville Parks and Recreation to provide tutoring services in reading, math, science to students with disabilities. Regional transformation. Our early literacy and elementary literacy program received an A rating from the National Council on Teacher Quality. Our MAED and curriculum and instruction ranked as number 20 for online curriculum and instruction graduate programs based in U.S. News and World Report. Our MAED program in reading ranked 16 on online MAED reading programs, Best Colleges 2020. All 4 of our MAED special education program concentrations earned special recognition from the Council for Exceptional Children. The College of Education was engaged in 156 research projects last academic year. Overall, the College of Education Office of Grants and Research reported over $35 million in total awards. 2 examples of those awards. One is the Pirate Leadership Academy, which serves to promote rural education and leadership practices, principal preparation. And our Counselor Education program received a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The grant focused on mental health preparation in rural eastern North Carolina. Overall, the impact, economic impact the College of Education had last academic year was over $40 million. So as you can see, I could go on and on, of course, of the great work that is happening in the College of Education, but I wanted to take just a moment to share some things with you that really does exhibit how the College of Education is focused on the mission and how the work that we do really supports our region and North Carolina. I do want to share one brochure with you. This is our impact brochure that we publish each year, and has great information in it about the impact of the College of Education. Actually has some testimonials from our students talking about our success and our impact and our mission and our centrality to ECU and to the region. I'm happy to share this brochure with you. I can mail it a hard copy. I can send it to you electronically. I can do both. So if you would like a copy of it, feel free to follow up with me.
Thank you, Dr. Rouse, for that update, and thank you for your continued support to the College of Education. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Caroline Bradshaw, and I'm an advancement officer for the foundation, and I serve as the liaison for the College of Education, and also travel to the territory of Virginia, Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And now we are going to go to the questions that we've gotten from the audience. And I will start giving those to you, Dr. Rouse. And for those of you that have not had a chance to submit your questions, you can submit them in the chat below. So the first question we've gotten from the audience would be, it's from Jordan from Grifton, and they asked, how will the College of Ed Office of Global Engagement continue to provide global opportunities for the College of Ed students and faculty during the global pandemic?
Right. What we have been doing is, of course, they've been virtual, so we have the platform to be able to interact with our colleagues and students in our study abroad program. So at present, we're using a lot of technology, of course, and a lot of virtual platforms to continue to offer those experiences to our students.
Thank you. And so the next one we have is, how are students getting experience in the classroom for their internships?
Well, so, you know, that has been a challenge. Fortunately, we have a virtual laboratory that's called Immersion. And so Immersion, we use avatars and we have scenarios where students go in and they can practice their instructional presentation, classroom management. They can practice parent conferencing. And so we're using Immersion a whole lot to give students that classroom, that real classroom experience. We're also doing some team teaching. So if you can imagine a classroom of 15 students, and the student, of course, this is virtual, and the student delivering a lesson to their peers and to their professor. And so we're able to provide students that feedback and give them those experiences that they would have otherwise received in a face-to-face classroom environment.
That's awesome. So the next question we have is from Lewis from Raleigh, and he asked, what is the plan for the spring semester at ECU?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. The plan is to bring students back face to face, and of course we're going to do that cautiously, and we're going to do it safely. But the plan at this time is to bring students back face to face. Of course, we're going to have reduced density in our housing, reduced density in our face-to-face classroom instruction. So the plan is to come back face to face. It'll look a little different as far as the density, but we do plan to, at this time, to bring students back on campus face to face.
Okay, thank you. And then, do you see an overall shift in the future of higher education?
To some degree. I think what this pandemic has helped, is it really has caused us to really evaluate our practices, right? And so to really look at how we can do our work more efficient, do it better. And so it has caused us to look at best practices and efficiencies. So I do see a little bit of a shift, but I do think that the on-campus experiences allow students the opportunity to engage in co-curricular activities such as, you know, our entrepreneurship initiative that we have that's out of the College of Business, and robotics and different co-curricular activities that allows our students to enrich their education. So I do see a shift to some degree, but I do see that the on-campus experience is really a value added.
Thank you. Dr. Rouse, Don from Virginia wants to know, what is the school doing to recruit and assist students of color and to address systemic racism at ECU?
Okay. Well, we always are focused on, I call it diversifying our pipeline, diversifying our teachers. And so the past years, we have hosted over 1,000 students approximately on campus, and we do that through middle and high school AVID programs. We do that through iTeach. We're connected to the counselors in the high schools and middle schools to recruit and diversify our student population. We also, in our alternative pathways, as far as our educational residency model, we talk with superintendents and community leaders about those who would serve as teachers, so we recruit from some of those areas as well. It's a campus-wide effort as far as helping our students and supporting them with racial issues and social justices. So we're engaged in conversations at the cupola where we, of course now they're virtual, but they were face-to-face, and we will be face-to-face soon. And so we have conversations at the cupola where we talk about racial issues and injustices. Our faculty are very intentional, as I have shared with them my expectation of being intentional in the classroom and allowing students the space, if you will, to engage and to support our students in these very, very challenging times.
Thank you. And we have another question from the audience. They want to know, how has the current pandemic molded the models the College of Ed is using to help soon-to-be graduates in using online platforms to conduct classroom instruction?
So the pandemic has really focused us, and I say that in a good way as far as instruction. We used to in our courses engage students with some online learning and instruction. It really has accelerated our efforts to help students and prepare them with the online environment. And of course, we have seen this coming for years. North Carolina has a virtual public high school. A lot of school districts are turning to some additional online courses. And so we have really accelerated our efforts in being able to share with students what are the best practices in online learning, right? So what does that look like? How you develop a lesson plan in an online environment versus a face-to-face environment. So we have accelerated our efforts. Our faculty are really excellent because, as you know, in higher ed, we've been engaged in distance education, especially at ECU for a long time. We just haven't pushed that out to as much to our K-12 colleagues and our in-service pre-service teachers, because there was not that great of a need. Well, it sure is a need now, and that was something that we began last March, realizing that we really needed to begin preparing our students for a remote learning world as well as a face-to-face world.
Thank you. Kim from Elizabeth City wants to know, what is the current enrollment in the instructional technology program, and has there been growth in this program over the last few years?
Yes, so the instructional technology program, we've seen significant growth over the past, I'd say, 3 to 5 years. We have an excellent faculty in the IT program. We have seen a significant increase, as you can imagine, since this summer in the demand for enrollment in the instructional technology program. Currently, we have approximately 100 students enrolled in that IT program. In fact, to be exact, I think there's 93 students enrolled in our IT program, but we've seen significant growth in that program.
It's awesome to hear. So now we're going to move to some questions about growth and the future of the College of Ed. And we have a question from the audience, and they wanted to know which areas of the college are growing or do you expect to grow?
So one area that's really growing is our educational residency model. It's called ERM. The state several years ago, it's been named several things, or had several titles. It's alternative license, alternative pathways. It's now called the educational residency model. So 2 years ago, we saw that this was a pathway that was coming. And so the College of Ed faculty work collaboratively to establish a program. And what this educational residency model is for folks that are coming from another career that don't have a teaching license or the pedagogy in the instructional environment. So we created a pathway so that folks could come in and get their teaching license. And we started that program last year, and it's grown to approximately 600 students in that program. So that's a huge area of growth. We have a master's in literacy program that is in high demand, as you heard my opening comments about the ranking with that literacy program. In fact, we have a waiting list, and part of the reason of that innovation is that our faculty, when we redesigned that literacy early literacy program, it's designed in 8-week, what we call 8-week blocks. So the semester is 8 weeks. So folks take, instead of a semester, they take courses in 8-week blocks. That's in high demand. Our doctoral degree in educational leadership is in high demand. Years ago, before I came to the dean's office, I actually served as the chairperson for the Department of Educational Leadership and redesigned that doctoral program from a 6-year model to a 3-year model. And that program is in high demand as well.
Awesome. Dr. Rouse, what are some recent faculty achievements that have made you the most proud recently?
How much time do we have? As I shared in some of my opening remarks, I'm most proud of this faculty for their commitment to the region and their commitment to our students and their commitment to give of their time. And you heard me talk about all the professional development hours and 1,000 hours and 25,000 hours and the 400 hours that faculty gave to support families and children and students when they transitioned to remote learning last March. So I'm proud of our faculty for their servant leadership, and they truly believe in serving, and they serve well. And so I'm most proud of our faculty and their commitment and their service to our students and to our region.
Thank you. Tom from Cary asked, how do you and the College of Ed make sure you are in touch with the day-to-day realities of being a teacher, AP, principal, district leader, and superintendent? Well,
one of my reality checks is I have a senior in high school, in the local high school, so I stay very grounded with the challenges that are associated with our K-12 colleagues. So one thing that I do is I attend regularly 3 of our area superintendent, they're called regional meetings. So I attend the Northeast superintendent meeting, the Southeast superintendent meeting, and the Central Carolina superintendent meeting. And I attend those meetings to, just as the question was, is to stay grounded, right? And to hear about the successes that are happening in our public schools, but also the challenges, and how can I use our resources at ECU to help resolve those problems and alleviate those problems. And also faculty and I meet with our ECU community school faculty. I meet with that principal actually regularly each month to listen to her about the challenges and the things that the ECU community school needs to be successful. I've carried faculty with me sometimes to the community school. So we work to stay grounded because we're K-12. I consider the partnership, we're K-20. And so the only way that we can know how to help and meet the needs of our K-12 colleagues is to know what they're dealing with. And so it is very, very important that we know and understand and stay connected to and grounded to and with our K-12 colleagues.
Thank you. We have had some loyal alumni and friends of the College of Ed ask how they can help. What would you say are the top 3 ways they could support us during this unusual time in our history?
Well, 3 things that come to mind. Volunteer. So one example of volunteer is our scholarship committee each year. We have an enormous amount, which is good. Students applying for scholarships, and so we ask for scholarship reviewers. So volunteering for the scholarship committee. I think another avenue would be to volunteer at our ECU community school. We have a need, of course, for folks in reading and math that could serve as mentors and instructional folks for our community school. And the third thing would be, we have a lot of advisory committees. We have the professional advisory board. Different departments have advisory committees that we're more than happy, and we're looking for folks to serve on those committees to help provide feedback and guidance and support for the work that we do in the College of Education.
Thank you. Another question from the audience. I've heard about your Educators Hall of Fame. Can you tell me more about it and how I can nominate someone?
Absolutely. So the Hall of Fame was started years ago, and the money that is that we receive from those nominations or those awardees go into the College of Ed Scholarship Fund. And so we have that event each year. It's typically held in October, 1st of November each year, and we have awardees that folks nominate, and they're given a nice plaque and recognition at the College of Ed ceremony, Hall of Fame ceremony. If you can talk, I can send you some information from the advancement office. There's a form on who and how to nominate, and so I'm happy to share that with you or others that want to nominate someone for our Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Dr. Rouse. From the audience, can you talk about the realities of recruiting and retaining math and science middle school teachers? What is ECU doing to recruit students to these high need areas?
So I'll go back to some of our recruitment efforts in connection. We use our counselors in our high schools and middle schools to seek out students who potentially are thinking about education as a career, and then more specifically, their interest in those high needs areas. It is challenging. It has been challenging, and will continue to be a challenge. So we target our counselors, who then target our high school students. We also have great relationships with our math folks here at ECU, not math educators, but outside of our math education department, where we're in constant contact with potentially folks there that would be interested in math education.
Thank you, Dr. Rouse. And it looks like the last question we have is, what is your top funding priority?
Top funding priority is student needs. So, we have a large number of students who receive financial aid. They rely on financial aid a lot to reduce the cost of higher education. And so my top funding need is support for students, financial support for students. We have found that the number one reason that students stop out is financial. It's the lack of the ability to fund and pay for their education. So the top issue, hands down, is funding financial support for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Rouse. And yes, that will be the end of our questions. And I just want to remind everyone that we will be reaching out to you all and connecting you with Dr. Rouse. And we want to thank you for attending, and we appreciate your participation. And please feel free to reach out if you didn't get your questions answered today. And we really hope that you feel like you learned something new today and that you heard the message that ECU needs you now more than ever. I'll be reaching out to those that have attended today and want to thank you again, and go Pirates. And now I'll leave it to Dr. Rouse.
Yeah, so again, thank you all for your time. Thank you for attending today. Thank you always for your continued support. Special thank you to our professional advisory board, council that attended today, and to our donors that are with us today. And your support, continued support, means so much to our faculty and students, and we appreciate your loyalty and that support that you give us. And so thank you just so much for all of your work and all your support for the College of Education.